They failed in theaters. Then they found the dark, the late shows, the worn-out seats, the strange, loyal crowds that treat a movie like a secret handshake. Tonight, we enter the world of box office bombs that refused to die. 10 films that collapsed on release, then rose again at midnight, where the weird becomes holy, where flops become legends. Welcome to Part 1. Number 10. The Big Lebowski, 1998. At first glance, this looks like a laid-back crime comedy. A man in a bathrobe gets dragged into a kidnapping mess. Bowling lanes glow like neon confessionals, and the plot keeps slipping out of your hands on purpose. When it opened, many viewers did not know what to do with it. They wanted a clean mystery. They got a shaggy dream. They wanted a hero arc. They got a man who refuses to grow up and refuses to apologize for it. The film did not explode at the box office. It drifted. It confused. It felt like a joke told sideways. Then, home video happened. Cable happened. And late-night rewatching turned the film into a ritual. The Big Lebowski is built for repetition. The lines stick in your mouth like gum. The characters feel like people you have met in real life. A friend of a friend who never stops talking. A rich man who performs seriousness like a costume. A violent fool who thinks rage is a personality. Every scene has a strange rhythm. It is calm. Then suddenly it snaps. A threat, a scream, a broken nose. Then it slides back into the haze. Midnight audiences love the way it floats. The plot does not matter as much as the mood. The bowling alley becomes a church. The soundtrack becomes a heartbeat. And the dude becomes a mythic figure for anyone who has ever felt crushed by modern life and decided to step aside instead of fighting. That choice feels rebellious. It feels dangerous in a quiet way. Over time, the film stopped being a flop story and became a living community. People dress up. People quote it. People gather just to feel that strange, warm fog again. A box office bomb turned into a midnight identity. Number 9, 1989. UHF hit theaters with a weapon pointed at it. Not a real weapon, a release date weapon. It arrived during a summer packed with giant sequels and glossy blockbusters. The movie itself is a chaotic love letter to trash television. It follows a dreamer who takes over a failing station and turns it into a circus. The jokes come fast. The ideas come faster. It is a sketch comedy hurricane dressed like a movie. For many audiences in that moment, it felt too childish, too weird, too loud, and it vanished quickly from theaters. But midnight crowds understand exactly what it is. It is a film about making entertainment out of nothing, about building a kingdom from cardboard, about creating joy with bad costumes and pure nerve. The station becomes a symbol for anyone who ever tried to make art without permission. The movie keeps screaming one message. You can still win if you are ridiculous enough. The humor is broad on purpose. It is silly. Then suddenly it turns sharp. It mocks greed. It mocks media power. It mocks the idea that only rich people deserve airtime. UHF also became a midnight classic because it rewards viewers who love repeating bits. The scenes feel like short episodes inside a longer story. One segment becomes a parody show, another becomes a fake commercial, another becomes a twisted children program with a dangerous grin. At midnight, the audience does not want subtle. They want a shared laugh that hits like a punch. They want the feeling of being in on it. They want a movie that feels handmade. Over time, UHF was rescued by the exact culture it predicted. Cult video stores, cable reruns, fans trading quotes like secret codes. The film became a badge for people who loved comedy that refused to be polite. It is not cool comedy. It is not clever comedy. It is fearless comedy. That is why it lives after dark. The box office did not understand it. Midnight audiences did. They always do. Number 8, Brazil, 1985. Brazil is the kind of film that looks like it was built inside a fever. It is a dystopian nightmare wrapped in comedy and romance. A man trapped in a paper-pushing system dreams of flying, dreams of freedom. dreams of a woman who feels like an escape hatch from his dead world. The visuals are heavy. The machines hiss and clank. The buildings look like they are swallowing people, and the story refuses to comfort you. On release, it struggled. It was complicated. It was bleak. It was also caught in battles over which version people would even see. That kind of chaos can crush a movie before the audience can find it. But midnight screenings love a film that feels forbidden. Brazil feels like contraband, like a warning smuggled inside a fantasy. The bureaucracy is not just a setting, it is the villain. It is a monster made of forms and rules and polite cruelty. That theme hits harder the older you get. At midnight, it plays like a confession. People laugh, then they go quiet, because the jokes point at real life. The film became a cult object because it gives viewers a world to explore. Every background detail tells a story. Every hallway looks like a trap. Every office feels like a cage. And the dream sequences feel like oxygen. They are bright and mythic and tragic. The contrast becomes addictive. You watch it again and notice new layers, new symbols, new pain hiding behind the humor. That is Midnight Power, a film that grows with you. Brazil also became a midnight classic because it refuses to resolve neatly. It pushes you into uncertainty. It asks whether escape is real or only another story we tell ourselves. That ending sting stays with people. It turns the film into something you argue about on the walk out. You do not just watch Brazil. You carry it home like a bruise. That is why it survived its box office failure. It was never meant for casual afternoons. It was made for late-night minds, the kind that cannot stop thinking, the kind that come back again. Number 7. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, 1984. This movie arrives like a broadcast from a parallel universe. It does not ease you in. It throws you into a world where a rock star is also a brain surgeon, also a test pilot, also a genius hero with a team of loyal weirdos at his side. The plot involves dimension-jumping alien fugitives and a chain of events that feels like it was stitched together from comic books, radio dramas, and late-night television delirium. When it opened, mainstream audiences did not know where to place it. It was too strange to be a normal blockbuster, too playful to be a clean science fiction epic, too smart to be treated like a simple parody, so it stalled at the box office. Midnight audiences fell in love because the film is not trying to be normal. It is trying to be its own language. Every character feels like they have lived 100 adventures before the first scene even begins. The dialogue sounds like insider talk between people who already know the rules. That makes viewers lean forward. You feel like you are joining a club. The film becomes a puzzle you want to belong to, and once you belong, you want to bring someone else. The cult power comes from the tone. It is confident. It is sincere. It treats its absurdity like a serious mission. That is the magic. A movie can be ridiculous and still feel noble. Buckaroo himself becomes a midnight hero for the kind of fan who dreams of being multi-talented and fearless, not in a superhero way, in a mythic American oddball way, a hero who can play guitar 1 minute and save the world the next. At midnight, that fantasy feels pure. Then there is the aftertaste. People leave quoting lines and humming the music. They remember faces, they remember costumes, they remember the final walk where the characters stride together like a band heading into the night. That image sticks. It feels like an invitation. The box office did not show up, but the midnight crowd did and kept showing up, because this film is not entertainment. It is a secret universe that only opens after dark. Number 6. Repo Man, 1984. Repo Man hit theaters like a bottle thrown through a window. It is punk. It is angry. It is funny in a way that feels dangerous. The story follows a young man falling into the brutal world of car repossession in Los Angeles. He is surrounded by burned-out adults and wild philosophy and a city that looks like it is decaying in real time. The film does not care about comfort. It spits out rules. It mocks consumer life. It treats the American dream like a cheap flyer blowing down an empty street. That tone did not make it an easy sell at the box office. But midnight audiences crave movies that talk back. Repo Man became a cult classic because it feels like rebellion recorded on film. The soundtrack alone is a badge. The scenes move like a punk song. Fast, sharp, full of attitude. It takes everyday objects and makes them feel cursed. A car can be a mystery. A trunk can be a nightmare. A job can be a trap. The film makes ordinary life feel like a conspiracy, and that is exactly what late-night minds respond to. The humor is also crucial. It is deadpan, then suddenly explosive. The characters speak like they are half joking and half confessing. The world is absurd, but the emotions are real. Fear, hunger, restlessness. That mix gives the film its midnight heartbeat. You laugh, then you feel uneasy, then you laugh again. It is the rhythm of being young and broke and angry at everything. Repo Man stays alive because it rewards repeat viewing. You catch strange background details. You notice how the movie predicts the way people sell identity through products. You see how the city feels like a character, and the ending gives that perfect midnight charge. Strange, electric, unexplained, like a legend that refuses to be solved. A box office bomb became an underground anthem, not because it softened with time, because the world caught up to its rage. Number 5, The Thing, 1982. The Thing is now spoken about like a masterpiece, but when it arrived, it was treated like a problem. It hit audiences with icy dread and shocking transformations and a story that offered no safe ground. A research station in Antarctica becomes a prison, trust becomes poison, and the enemy can wear any face. At the time, many viewers were not ready for that level of bleakness. Critics were harsh. The box office did not embrace it. It was seen as too cold, too nasty, too hopeless. It vanished under the shadow of brighter science fiction that made people feel good. Midnight screenings changed its fate because the film is built for darkness. At midnight, every shadow feels deeper, every silence feels louder, and the paranoia becomes contagious in a room full of strangers. People start watching each other. They start thinking about who is real, who is lying. The film becomes interactive without trying. The audience becomes part of the tension. That is midnight cinema at its most powerful. The special effects also became a reason for cult worship. They are grotesque but precise. Each creature moment feels handmade and alive. It is horror as sculpture. And because the film does not rush past the dread, it lingers in your mind. The fear is not only the monster, it is the collapse of trust. The idea that your friend could turn into something else while you sleep. That theme never ages. It only grows stronger. The Thing also found its audience through reevaluation. Over time, people recognized how tightly crafted it is, how clean the suspense is, how brutal the atmosphere feels. Fans began to defend it like a misunderstood classic. Then the midnight crowd claimed it fully. It became a rite, a test, a film you show someone to see how they handle true paranoia horror. The box office once rejected it. The midnight world crowned it. Because some movies are not built for daylight. They are built for the moment when the room goes quiet and you realize you cannot trust anyone, including yourself. Number 4, Blade Runner, 1982. Blade Runner arrived wearing the skin of a futuristic detective story, rain-soaked streets, neon signs, a hard-edged cop hunting down runaway creations. On paper, it sounds like a hit. In theaters, it struggled. The pacing felt slow to audiences expecting a clean action ride. The world felt too dense. The mood felt too sad. Even the questions it asked were heavy. What makes a person real? What counts as a soul? What happens when a machine learns fear and love? That was not the kind of message most people wanted on opening weekend. So the box office numbers stayed colder than the film itself. Then late-night viewers found it, and midnight changed everything. Because Blade Runner is not built for casual attention, it is built for the hours when the mind drifts and the heart listens. At midnight, the city in the film feels alive. Smoke breathes out of street vents like the world is exhausted. Light reflects off wet pavement like the future is crying. Every shot feels like a painting that refuses to explain itself. That is why people return. They do not just follow the plot, they sink into the atmosphere. The film also becomes a midnight classic because it invites debate. Is the hunter actually the same as the hunted? Is the hero even human? Does it matter? These questions feel like quiet thunder after the credits. Fans argue in parking lots. Fans watch again to chase new clues. A cult forms when a movie keeps whispering after it ends. Blade Runner does exactly that. Over time, different cuts added to the legend. Viewers compared versions and searched for meaning in the changes. The movie became something you study, something you live inside. A failure turned into a sacred text for science fiction fans. Because the film understood a truth theaters could not measure, the future is not only explosions and speed, the future is loneliness. The future is memory. The future is a question you cannot answer. Midnight crowds did not just save Blade Runner, they completed it. Number 3. The Warriors, 1979. The Warriors hit like a siren at night. A gang must cross an entire city to get home after being framed for murder. The premise is simple. The execution feels like a myth running through concrete. When it opened, the reaction was messy. The film was blamed for trouble. Some theaters pulled it. Some audiences treated it like a threat instead of a story. The box office never had the chance to turn it into a normal hit. It became a controversy before it became a classic. Midnight crowds embraced it because it feels like a dream you can walk through. New York becomes a battlefield. Every subway station becomes a checkpoint. Every block has a different enemy. The gangs are not realistic in a documentary way. They are symbolic, costumes and colors, war paint and uniforms. It feels like a comic book brought to life with grime and sweat. That heightened style becomes perfect for late-night viewing. It is not just a chase, it is a ritual journey. The movie became a midnight classic because audiences love the pulse. The soundtrack drives like a heartbeat. The radio voice becomes a ghost narrator guiding the night. The pace never lets go, and the friendships inside the gang feel genuine. These are not heroes. They are kids trapped in a city that eats people. That makes their survival feel emotional. At midnight, you stop judging them. You start rooting for them like they are your own crew. Quoting also helped build the cult. Lines spread like street graffiti. Fans repeated them. Fans copied the look. Fans turned the film into a badge. It became a movie you did not just watch, you joined it. Over time, the danger panic faded, and what remained was the power of the story. A nighttime odyssey, a city as monster, a gang as family. The Warriors did not win in the daylight box office. It won after midnight where legends belong. Number 2. Eraserhead, 1977. Eraserhead is not a movie you stumble into and forget. It is a movie that stains your mind. On release, it was never going to be a mainstream success. It is surreal. It is slow. It is full of industrial noise and nightmare logic. A man lives in a decaying world. He becomes trapped in parenthood and dread and a sense that reality is melting. The film offers no comfort, no clear map, no easy explanation. That kind of experience does not sell tickets like a normal night out, so it lived on the margins. Midnight gave it a home because it feels like it was made for that hour. The black and white shadows feel deeper when you watch late. The silence feels louder. The strange sound design feels like a machine whispering in the walls. At midnight, the audience is willing to surrender. They do not demand answers. They let the film work on them like a spell. Eraserhead became a cult classic because it speaks to fears people struggle to name. Fear of responsibility, fear of the body, fear of becoming trapped in a life that does not feel like yours. The film turns those feelings into images that are ugly and unforgettable. That is why people keep returning. Not because it is fun, because it feels honest in a brutal way. The midnight crowd also helped build the myth around the creator. David Lynch became a name linked to dreams and dread. Eraserhead became the origin story, the film that proved cinema could be logic-free and still hit the heart. Fans brought friends just to see their reaction. Some walked out, some stayed frozen, some became obsessed. That is what midnight classics do. They divide the room and create believers. Eraserhead never needed box office approval. It needed the dark and the brave audience willing to face it. Midnight gave it both, and the film became immortal. Number 1. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, 1975. This is the ultimate midnight resurrection story. Rocky Horror opened and struggled. It was too odd for mainstream tastes, too sexual, too theatrical, too gleefully strange. The plot is chaos. A sweet couple breaks down on a stormy night and stumbles into a castle of glam monsters and wild music. The film did not explode as a normal hit. It waited. It needed a different kind of audience, a late-night audience. Then midnight screenings turned it into a living event. Not just a film, a ceremony. People did not sit quietly. They shouted back. They dressed up. They memorized every beat. They turned the theater into a stage. The movie became a place where outsiders felt seen, where weird felt powerful, where shame turned into laughter. That is why Rocky Horror became bigger than box office numbers. It offered freedom. It offered identity. It offered community. The songs became anthems. The characters became icons. And the audience became part of the story. Night after night, the film kept growing because the experience kept growing. A box office bomb became a midnight religion. They failed when the lights were bright and the expectations were clean. But at midnight, these films found their true home. In the dark, you do not need permission to love something strange. You only need a room full of people who feel the same pull.